Renee Carson walked into the interview calm, polished, and overqualified. Her resume spoke for itself. Top of her class at Wharton, a decade of experience at leading financial firms, and a reputation for turning struggling departments into profit centers. Yet the moment she stepped into the sleek, glass-walled offices of Bradford Keenan and Associates, she felt the shift in the air. The receptionist, a sharp-eyed woman with a practiced smile, barely looked up from her screen. "You're here for the junior analyst position?" she asked, her tone laced with skepticism. Renee kept her expression neutral. "Yes, that's correct." A barely concealed smirk. "Take a seat. They'll be with you shortly." She sat, smoothing her tailored blazer, and waited. And waited. 40 minutes past her scheduled time, a man in his late 30s, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, finally emerged. "Renee Carson?" She stood. "Yes." He gave her a quick once-over, his gaze lingering just a second too long on her wedding ring. "Follow me." The interview room was all cold glass and steel, with two other executives already seated. Neither stood to greet her. The man who had escorted her in, Daniel Hartley according to his nameplate, leaned back in his chair. "So Renee, tell us why you're interested in this role." She had prepared for this. She spoke of her passion for financial strategy, her track record of streamlining operations, her desire to bring fresh perspective to Bradford Keenan. Halfway through her answer, the woman across the table, Lydia Cho, VP of Talent, interrupted. "You realize this is an entry-level position, right?" Renee blinked. "I'm aware. I'm looking for a change in direction." Daniel exchanged a glance with Lydia. "Your last role was as a senior director. You'd be reporting to people with half your experience. I understand the hierarchy." Lydia flipped through Renee's resume with a barely concealed sigh. "Honestly, I'm not sure this is the right fit. We're looking for someone who can grow with the company, not someone who might feel stifled." Renee kept her voice steady. "I wouldn't have applied if I didn't think I could contribute." Daniel leaned forward, fingers steepled. "Look, Renee. Can I call you Renee? We appreciate your time, but I think we're going in a different direction. The position's been filled." A lie. She knew it. They knew it. She stood, collected her portfolio and smiled. "Thank you for your time." As she walked out, she heard Lydia mutter, "Waste of an afternoon." 3 floors above, Julian Carson watched the entire exchange on his monitor. He had seen the receptionist smirk, the way the interviewers barely let Renee speak, the dismissive body language. His jaw tightened as Daniel lied about the position being filled. Julian had bought Bradford Keenan and Associates a week ago, a quiet acquisition through a holding company. The board knew. HR had been notified of upcoming structural changes, but middle management, clueless. He picked up his phone. "Miriam, call an emergency HR review, now." By the end of the day, the entire hiring process was under audit. The receptionist was reassigned after it was discovered she had a habit of filtering candidates based on her own biases. Daniel and Lydia were called into separate meetings with HR and the new ownership rep. "You were aware of Ms. Carson's qualifications," the rep said, sliding a copy of her resume across the table to Daniel. He paled. We thought she was overqualified. And instead of considering why someone of her caliber would want to join, you assumed she didn't belong?" Lydia, ever defiant, crossed her arms. "She wouldn't have lasted. Someone like her doesn't take orders well." The HR rep didn't blink. "Someone like her?" Silence. By 5 p.m., both were escorted out of the building. The next morning, Bradford Keenan's CEO, now answering to Julian, called Renee personally. "Ms. Carson, we'd like to extend an offer for the senior strategist role at double the initial salary." Renee, sipping coffee in her home office, smiled. "That's generous, but I'm afraid I've moved on." A pause. "We could negotiate." "I don't need to. Tell your team not to worry. I'm not suing. I'm not going to the press." She set her cup down. "But I am starting my own firm, and I'd suggest your remaining employees update their resumes." The lesson. Underestimate someone at your own risk. The woman you dismiss as too ambitious, she might be your boss next year. The candidate you assume won't fit, She could be the one deciding whether your company survives. Renee's firm launched 6 months later, with half of Bradford Keenan's top talent on her roster. As for Julian, he sold the company within the year. Moral: talent doesn't need your approval, and karma doesn't need a reminder.